Namaste, everyone. I am recording this video to discuss the order that is passed by the Honorable Supreme Court of India in the Ranveer Allahabadia controversy. So, this case is called Ranveer Gautam Allahabadia versus Union of India. Writ petition criminal number 83 of 2025. And this is an order dated 18th February 2025. It was passed yesterday by a division bench comprising Honorable Mr. Justice Suryakant and Honorable Mr. Justice N.K. Singh. Now, after the statements that were made by Ranveer Allahabadia, several FIRs were registered against him, and therefore he approached the Honorable Supreme Court to club and consolidate the proceedings and quash the FIR. If you read this order, here the Honorable Supreme Court has, in the first paragraph, issued notice to the government and the other respondents to respond to the same. In the second paragraph, they have stayed the FIR. So the FIRs that have already been filed. So one is FIR number 5 of 2025. This is filed in Thane. And the second FIR is filed in FIR number 3 of 2025. This is filed in Guwahati, Assam. These FIRs shall remain stayed subject to the condition. Now, there are certain conditions, and what is the meaning of the state, that also I will be explaining to you. First condition is petitioner shall join the investigation as and when summoned by the investigating officers of these two police stations. That is, the interim protection against arrest is granted further subject to the condition that the petitioner will extend full cooperation to the ongoing investigation. Fine. He means Ranveer Allahabadia, will not be accompanied by any counsel inside the police station during the course of investigation. I think this was because his lawyer mentioned to the bench that the lawyer who came out of the police station with him also received death threats. So certain oral observations were made, which are not a part of this order, but I will also discuss that with you. So these are the conditions which were imposed insofar as the existing investigations are concerned. And then the court also imposed further conditions having regard to the facts and circumstances. We deem it appropriate to issue the following further interim directions. Right? So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 directions or conditions that have been imposed. The first condition is no further FIR shall be registered against the petitioner, that is Ranveer Allahabadia, on the basis of the episode aired on the show India's Got Latent, for which the above mentioned 2-3 FIRs have already been registered. Right? Then next is the petitioner shall be at liberty to approach the local police of Maharashtra and Assam for the protection of his life and liberty in the event of any threat, so as to enable him join the investigation. So don't be accompanied by any lawyer. But if you do receive any threats or any death threats, you can always seek protection of your life. Third condition, the petitioner shall deposit his passport with the investigating officer of the police station Nodal Cyber Police Thane. He shall not leave the country without prior permission of this court. So he has to deposit the passport to the police. He cannot go outside India until and unless the Honorable Supreme Court grants him the permission to do so. The petitioner or his associates shall not air any show on YouTube or any other audio, video, visual mode of communication till further orders. So essentially, his right to travel, which is protected by Article 19, is taken away by condition number 4. And his right to work, which is also protected by Article 19, is taken away by clause number 5. So this is not just about 19(1)(a), which is free speech. There are certain other conditions also imposed which are affecting his fundamental rights, at least in further orders are passed by the Honorable Court. Right? Now we will try to understand this judgment. Firstly, as I told you, what is the meaning of this? That the ongoing investigations will be stayed. So you see what happens is that there is a pattern in India of filing multiple FIRs in different jurisdictions. It can be for the same cause of action or alleged offense. And the courts have noted down in several cases before that this is restricting the liberty of the alleged offender or the accused So what the Honorable Supreme Court does is it clubs the FIRs together. So one FIR is, let's say, filed in Mumbai, one FIR is filed in Ahmedabad. So they will be clubbed, and investigation will happen in one FIR, the other FIRs will be stayed. So the petitioner does not have to appear in multiple courts. So right now, for example, if you see this Thane and Guwahati, wherever these two FIRs have been filed, there he will have to cooperate for investigation. No new FIRs can be filed against Ranveer Allahabadia. Now, ultimately, even if the person gets convicted, the accused, when he gets convicted, would serve a common sentence. So, एक ही sentence होगा, there would not be consecutive sentences. So this is the advantage of approaching the Honorable Supreme Court. You must also see the speed at which this matter was taken up. I think it was mentioned just last week, and it got listed and he got the relief also. When, as per I was reading the Supreme Court Observer, recent data just this morning, 80,221 cases are pending in the Honorable Supreme Court. Just, as an additional fact that I wanted to bring to your notice. Another important point is that the counsel for the petitioner Ranveer Allahabadia clarified that this show, which was being aired, had a restricted access to paid subscribers. These subscribers are adults, and the controversy erupted over a 10-second video clip which got leaked, right? And subsequently, the court had issued notice. So this is also one more important, fact that you should know about. And more than that, if you see the guidelines that have been imposed, what is the law that governs this? So we have Section 438, Clause 2 in the CRPC, which stipulates that the High Court or the Court of Sessions can direct a person to be released on conditional bail. So the court can impose conditions which are necessary on the facts of each case. So for example, court can ask for the deposition of passport. Like they have asked Ranveer Allahabadia to deposit the passport. So in what kind of cases this is very common? This is common when the person is either a very serious criminal or is a flight risk. कि वो इंडिया के बाहर चला जाएगा. Especially in cases of white collar crimes, in cases of larger financial frauds also, this can be done. So to address the situation of flight risk, the passport can be asked to be deposited. Bail could be set for a high monetary value so that the accused joins the investigation. Another common condition is that the accused should cooperate with the police officer to remain periodically present at all times. And in one of the cases, the court even asked to share the Google map, pin or the location where the accused is, staying. In fact, in 2023, a bench headed by Honorable Justice Ravindra Bhatt had come down very heavily on the courts for selling bails by putting such conditions. And this was an observation by the court. How many times have you stood in the Supreme Court and High Court objecting to such onerous conditions? How can we start selling bail like this? Why? Because the accused was asked to deposit a huge amount with the court for the grant of the bail. So these are, some of the guidelines, the law that governs imposing the conditions. Now, in this case, if you see, is Ranveer Allahabadia a flight risk? Has he done some sort of large financial crime? Is he a serious offender? Are the statements that he has made proven to be obscene, which is, of course, a ground for free speech and expression? Look, I am not defending what he said. I am only looking at the conditions which are imposed by the Honorable Supreme Court in view of what he said. Free speech is very essential to every society, but it should go hand in hand with the responsibility to respect societal norms and values, and I'm a firm believer in that. There has to be a balance that has to be drawn between individual expression and collective well-being of the society. There is another case, which I want to discuss with you, which talks about these points and slightly similar, although the statements made were in a different context. And this case is Mohammad Zubair versus State of NCT of Delhi and others. This is, one second, I'll just take you to the first page. This order was passed by the Honorable Supreme Court on 20th July 2022. It's a 3-judge bench. Interestingly, Justice Suryakant, who is in the present case, was also a part of this bench. Now, if you see what the courts have, so here also Mohammad Zubair had tweeted certain things which were deemed to be objectionable, and therefore multiple FIRs were filed against him. And look at what the court says on the request which is made by the council. So see, here the council, para 29, for the state of Uttar Pradesh, attempted to persuade this court that the petitioner must be barred from tweeting when he's on bail. Section 432, 438 clause 2 stipulates that the High Court or the Court of Sessions can direct a person to be released on conditional bail. The provisions provide that the court shall impose conditions in the context of the facts of a particular case. The list of illustrated bail conditions stipulated in 437, 438 relate to the need to ensure a proper investigation and fair trial, or to prevent the accused from committing an offense similar to the one he is suspected of, or in the interest of justice. The phrase interest of justice has been interpreted in prior judgments of this court, where it has been held that the discretion of the court in imposing conditions on bail must be exercised judiciously and to advance a fair trial. The bail conditions imposed by the court must not only have nexus to the purpose that they seek to serve, but must also be proportional to the purpose of imposing them. So my question is, these conditions which are imposed on Ranveer Allahabadia, his source of livelihood, as far as I know, is YouTube. And he must be having certain employees that he will have to pay. Now he can't broadcast anything. Secondly, deposition of passport. Is that condition proportional in nature? So that is another thing. Now the courts, while imposing, this is also important, courts while imposing bail must balance the liberty of the accused and the necessity of a fair trial. While doing so, conditions that would result in the deprivation of rights and liberties must be eschewed. Right? Now see, ultimately, what the court says, merely because complaints filed against the petitioner arise from posts that were made by him on social media platform, blanket anticipatory order preventing him from tweeting cannot be made. Then, yeah, passing an order restraining him from posting on social media would amount to an unjustified violation of the freedom of speech and expression and the freedom to practice his profession. So he was allowed to tweet. He was not barred from tweeting. Correct? So this is the order which is passed by the Honorable Supreme Court. And here the court talks about what should be the fair conditions and proportionate conditions. And if you see this, these conditions which have been imposed by the Honorable Court, do you think that they are fair conditions? Do you think that they are proportionate? Do you think that Ranveer Allahabadia is a serious criminal or is a flight risk? Again, not defending what he said. That is absolutely wrong, what he said. I am only critiquing this judgment because a lot of people have already critiqued what he said, and I don't need to add on to that. So this is for you to decide, not only for the law students who may be watching this, but anyone, for you to decide. So I would wait for your views in the comment section, please, on this. And one more thing, which I would like to add before I end this video is the oral remarks. So the court, when this matter was heard, obviously they are not a part of the order, but the court said this about Ranveer Allahabadia. There is something very dirty in his mind, which has been vomited by him in the program. He's insulting parents also. Why should the courts favor him? Then when the lawyer told the honorable judge that he's also receiving death threats, so the court said orally, if you can try to attain cheap publicity by saying these kind of things, there might be others also who might want to get cheap publicity by making threats. Then the court adds further, and this is a very strong and scathing remark. You may have already read it on news or social media. The words which you have used, parents will feel ashamed, sisters and daughters will feel ashamed, entire society will feel ashamed. It shows a perverted mind. As I said, 80,000 plus cases are pending before the Honorable Supreme Court. There are so many serious issues happening. You just Google rape or offenses against women and children. You will find a news item on a daily basis on that. Is that not making us ashamed? The whole machinery, it's not just the court, is right now against Ranveer Allahabadia. And I just remember the quote of Voltaire, actually not by Voltaire, but to sum it up, in a biography by Evelyn Beatrice Hall, to sum up what the French philosopher and writer Voltaire had said, uh, that I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to death your right to say it. So with that, I would like to end this video, and I really hope that the Honorable Supreme Court comes up with certain guidelines in these kind of cases where you have to draw a balance between individual expression and the collective well-being of the society. What are the limits which the courts have to set in defining it, in also imposing such conditions? And secondly, I would obviously await your views on this judgment. What are your thoughts? Please do let me know in the comment box. Thank you so much for watching.